Today, we're setting our sights on the enemy.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Burnt on Religion, the podcast for those who have been burnt, who are currently burning, and those who are trying to avoid being burnt. I'm Ashton, and guess what?
Woohoo! Oh, man.
We're partying today. Rusty, believe it or not, is only a year old. Josh is
Covered in confetti.
a lot older.
Wow.
And here we go.
I'm a little distracted here. I don't know if you've noticed, but
We got a little
mess all over me.
little there. Did it land in my
Hey.
coffee? Nothing in the coffee.
Is it in my coffee?
Look at that.
I'm good. Thank you for not throwing confetti in my coffee. I'm a mess. Thank you, Ashton, for that introduction there. You are a problem, sir.
Don't take my fun.
Yeah, so the reason he is throwing this around is because we are in year 2
I'm a child.
and that too. He's also a child. But we are in year 2 of Burnt on Religion. This is our first episode of our second run of 52 weeks. We are getting old.
Josh, how does it feel to be so old?
Same as it did 10 years ago when I was old. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, I'm covered in confetti this time, though. I'm a little distracted.
I'm just hanging out at my year.
I'm supposed to be focused on an episode, and I'm cleaning house. Thank you so much, sir.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
We did say that we were going to bring something big this time. Last time we said, hey, we're bringing something big. Well, here it is. Look at the bottom of your screen. There's the first thing we're bringing right there at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Burnt on Religion. There's our, what is that, a call sign? What is that? It's not a logo.
It's fancy, whatever
It's
it is.
fancy is
Yeah.
what it is. So that right there, you're welcome. For the listeners,
Yeah.
or for the people that view our podcast. But for those that are listening, you don't get to see this.
Man, you're missing out.
Yeah, you're missing out. You don't see that on the bottom of the screen. What we do have for you though is we need to introduce this. We have a website.
Oh, man.
BurntOnReligion.com. We made it very similar to our podcast name.
Yeah.
So it's easy to remember. Yeah, BurntOnReligion.com. So you can go right there right now. Open your phone up and type in BurntOnReligion.com. And we have a website there. We have an episodes page on there, so you can go through and listen to any episode just by clicking the name of that episode. And you can just go back and listen to them without searching through whatever platform you were doing before. Also, don't write to us at burntonreligion@gmail.com. Don't do that. For a year, we've been telling you to do that, and now we just need to apologize and tell you that's not what we want you to do. We want you to write. If you have questions or comments or whatever, just write to questions@burntonreligion.com. We'll filter them all through, and we'll be able to take care of it all in one shot right there. So there's our big announcement. Year 2. Still got confetti everywhere.
Want more?
No, I don't want more. Man, all right. And we're also looking for new employees, one specific. So any ideas, send them our way. We're trying to find something to do with Ashton.
Been nice working with you, Ashton.
Yeah. Well, our topic today is a heavy one.
Severance package.
No severance package. You don't even get a paycheck.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have 2 new people. We'll get rid of him. He has that dual role.
Oh, that's right. We
true.
get an HR department too. A new HR, IT department, all that.
Yeah.
We're getting new everything around here. Unless you behave yourself, and then we might keep him. So, the topic that we have today is actually kind of a heavier one. With the events of the last few weeks, we saw on September 10th, we saw that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Then the funeral came up on the 21st of September. September 21st was the funeral. And a lot of things have been happening in our country. People are rallying behind a cause, and that's great to see. But what we have is a problem that a lot of churches have addressed, but they did not fix the problem or bring a solution to it. They bring up one specific verse in a lot of churches across the country, and your church might have done the same thing. It is 2 Chronicles 7:14. Most people couldn't remember that or be familiar with it because you probably just heard it recently. And that's the verse of, if my people are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and all that stuff. What we're doing is we're going after that verse today because we're we love to stay safe. We love to not stir the pot. So the truth is, our country, our nation does need healing, and that's the topic we want to talk about: is the healing of a nation and what it's going to take. And what we're telling you it's not going to take is 2 Chronicles 7:14. So you guys grow up hearing that verse. Are you familiar with?
Oh, absolutely.
So let me read it. That way everybody's on the same page, and then I want to ask you guys that question.
Sure.
2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and heal their land. And this is what people are wanting, is our country to be healed. And yes, I want to see a healing of our country too. But this verse is not the antidote to getting a healed nation. So growing up, how did you guys hear this thing?
Well, I know whenever there was, say, catastrophic events like 9/11, events to that effect, I heard it used in the context that America was having God's judgment poured out on us,
Right.
because we're not following that Christian line. We're not
Okay.
walking the walk.
Right.
And that was, like I said, that was the context of which it was used. It was, they'd point out the fact that my people, and then say the Christians, us, the Christians here, if they would, humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways, that he would heal our land.
Right.
And that was the whole context of how.
So it was the Christians were the problem.
Yeah, the Christians were the problem.
Misbehaving Christians.
Yes.
Okay. How about you, Ashton? What did you get? What did you get about this verse?
Not so much growing up, but I have heard it several times throughout the years be used. But I know people that have gone to various churches and stuff and have talked about a verse like this, about forgiving their sins and healing the lands. And, I never really dove into the why behind it. But a lot of people I know, it was kind of a blanketed, the land is everybody,
Right.
and so everybody pretty much needs to straighten up. So it's kinda,
Okay. Not necessarily the Christian, but
Yeah.
the whole nation needs to get their act together,
Yeah.
and God will heal the land. So here's the question I have: is if the whole nation does get their act together, hasn't the healing already taken place?
Yeah.
Yes, I would think so. Yes.
So if what we have to do is we need to get all better, so therefore
We can get better.
we can get better.
Yes.
It just doesn't seem to make sense. So this topic, and that's the way I grew up too. 9/11, I remember that, and we did address this verse in a previous episode almost a year ago. I'm guessing just somewhere around there. About how God doesn't punish us. That's not what he's trying to do. But now we want to zone in on this verse and have a conversation about this verse specifically. I heard the whole time 9/11 was a big one. I even took a bunch of teenagers out to the road in 2002. It was over. It happened a year ago, and we did the "We Will Never Forget" signs and all that. And I got the honor of carrying the sign that said 2 Chronicles 7:14. That's what I had because I wanted the one with the verse.
Something to hide behind.
Yeah, well, it was something I was advertising loud and clear, and the truth is, at that time, I did believe this, and that's. We're talking right now. It's 2025, and that was 2002. And look how far. If we get it in context, it changes a lot of things. The way you understand Scripture. I would never use this verse to say it. Now I would sit on a podcast and kind of speak against it.
Poke fun at yourself. Yeah.
Right. So it places blame on the shoulders of the Christian. That's how I with you, Rusty. That's how I grew up. It's the Christian's fault. If we would just behave ourselves, then everybody would be fine.
Well, I found myself even using that verse for that very thing. Pretty much telling folks, that I'd spoken to about it and whatnot. We can ward off God's judgment if we would just humble ourselves.
Right.
That type of thing.
Right.
Literally a fear tactic.
Yes. Yes.
In that, and I bought into it. completely. And of course, that's one of the reasons I used it,
Right, yeah. So if we would just behave ourselves, which, by the way, the problem is you, as a Christian. The problem is us as Christians. If we would just get our act together, then we can steer God's judgment away from the entire country. Which means these people, lost or saved in the Trade Towers event, that basically becomes our fault that they went through what they went through. And boy, that's a lot of weight to carry.
Sure it is.
That's a heavy burden to carry. But at the time, that's how I saw it too. Because I did not understand the context of 2 Chronicles 7:14. No clue. Thought I had a clue. That's the amazing thing about getting things out of context. If you believe you're right, you're never going to change your ways. I heard one time somebody said, what does it feel like to be wrong? I was like, it feels terrible. It feels absolutely terrible. And they said, no, it feels the same as being right. What does it feel like when you find out you're wrong? Now that's when it feels different. That's where it changes. Because when people are wrong, they don't think, well, I'm wrong and I'm going to stay there. No, they think they're right. So it feels exactly the same as being right. When you find out you're wrong, that's when it's crushing. That's when you don't like it. So
the old ego goes.
Yeah, it just kind of takes the air right out of your balloon there, and you're like, okay, that's fantastic. So that's what happened when I found out the context of this verse. So 2 Chronicles was written in the time of the Old Covenant. It's in the Old Testament, and people brought sacrifices to the temple to have their sins covered. Every year was the year of atonement, and they would come and bring a sheep or a lamb or whatever, and they would have that sacrifice to cover the sins of the past year. They had to do that year after year after year after year. When was the last time you took a lamb to the altar? Either one of you.
Still waiting on
never.
Still waiting on that.
Oh, you still haven't done it?
No,
You're in a lot of
no,
trouble, Rusty.
I am.
Yeah, you haven't even taken a lamb yet.
Nope.
So this whole verse is talking about an Old Covenant, Old Testament picture where they did bring sacrifices to the altar during the Day of Atonement. That's our context. So to take it and throw it into 2025, there's a few differences between today and the way it was back then. So a lot of sacrifices take place in this chapter. So I just want to back up. Verse 14 is the verse we're talking about, but let's jump back to verse 4 and just take a running start at this. It says, then the king and all the people offered sacrifices before the Lord. King Solomon offered a sacrifice of 22,000 bulls and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the people dedicated the house of God. There's a lot of blood in this story.
It's one big barbecue.
It wasn't, though. You would think, it doesn't sound bad for the Midwest. That's just a good day right there.
Yeah.
But this is a heavy day for them. The whole chapter is celebrating the dedication of the temple. That's what the context of the chapter is. They are celebrating, they're honoring the Lord with sacrifices. They saw him in comparison of who they were. We're sinners and we need God. And they're bringing these sacrifices for that representation, for that picture. I don't see a lot of people doing that when the trade towers fall, or what happened with Charlie Kirk, or a lot of good things happen from Charlie Kirk. The assassination.
Sure, yeah.
God, what people mean for evil, God can mean for good. And he did an incredible job. Lives were changed. Even the funeral itself, people were saved. During the funeral, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. So, but you know what I didn't see anybody with during the funeral? Livestock. They didn't bring any. Nobody had lambs or anything like that. So we're already changing things to plug in a verse to our scenario without plugging in the context to our scenario. So right before we get to the verse that everybody uses to heal the nation, right before it, we're talking verse 12. 14's our verse, 12's our. How far we're going to back up here? Right before
The butt.
Yes. Right before we get this popular verse that a lot of people have hanging on their walls at home, we have this verse 12. Then the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said to him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place for myself as the house of sacrifice. What prayer? That's the question. You know, if you've heard the prayer, at some point Solomon prayed, and it would be good to find out what that prayer was or when that prayer happened. We have the answer. If we just back up, we don't have to go far in this one. We're just going to go to the chapter before, 2 Chronicles 6:26. When the heavens are shut up and there is no rain because they have sinned against you, when they pray towards this place and confess your name and turn from their sin because you afflict them, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your servants, your people Israel, that you may teach them the good way in which they shall walk, and send rain on your land, which you have given to your people as an inheritance. So that was his prayer. When we realize we've botched this up, when we get to the point where we realize, okay, it's not you, it's us. You know, it's not you, it's me conversation. We realize that we've sinned, and when we turn back to you, will you send the rain that God already said? God had promised before, if you turn from me, things are going to happen. Famine and pestilence and captivity, and all these things will happen if you turn from me. And Solomon's just acknowledging, okay, when we do that, which that's kind of sad. He goes, I know we're going to mess up, and when we do, this is what I want to know. If we turn to you, will you heal our land?
And that's God's reply.
Yeah, God's reply is 2 Chronicles 7:14.
Yeah.
If my people, that's God's reply. So the prayer, what God is doing is answering Solomon's question.
Yeah.
There will be famine, and we already know that the land's going to be suffering and all of that. And if we do turn back to you, God, can we have more water? Yes, I will heal your physical land, not the spiritual condition of your country. Because at that point, the spiritual condition of your country has already been healed. And that is why he's healing the physical land. That's the whole context. But I'm telling you, just a few weeks ago, there were churches that were just hammering our country with 2 Chronicles 7:14. I listened to some of them.
Really?
Yeah, and the heart's in the right place.
Yes, heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
I'm not putting down any pastor for preaching. Good for them. Wanting to bring a answer to our country. That's great.
Sure.
Love that heart. Wrong verse.
Wrong verse.
just the wrong verse. So Solomon's prayer is asking God, would you send rain if the heart of the people turn back to you? That's the question. And then God responds with the whole, Solomon, I would do that. Yeah, no problem. Chapter 7, we see God's answer to the prayer, and I'm just going to connect. I want to connect the verse 12 to 14 here. It says in verse 13, right before verse 14, it says, when I shut up heaven and there is no rain, or command the locust to devour the land, or send pestilence among my people, if my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked way, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. What we're talking about, just back up a little bit, no rain, I'll send the locusts to devour the land, there's pestilence among my people. We're talking about physical land.
There's a whole different context in there.
It is.
Yes. Completely.
Yeah, we're talking about dirt.
Yeah, dirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Physical dirt.
We're talking about piece of ground. Yeah, so this verse, if you look at the context, which if you back up just one verse, then you'll see what's happening. When I shut up heaven and there is no rain, I'll send locusts, it will devour everything. There will be pestilence. But if my people, that's the land he's talking about, healing.
Wow.
One thing just crossed my mind. It's a little off track, but you noticed he said when I do that, when I should. So is God already planning to go ahead and shut this off?
He already knows what they're going to do.
When.
Right.
Not if.
No, when you mess up. When you mess up.
When you mess up.
I'm still moving confetti here. I'm still cleaning the place up. There's another piece right there. When you do this, because God knows we're not perfect. He knows we're going to stumble in many ways, just like James says we will do. He also knows that these people are bringing sacrifices at this time because there is a sin issue. God knows people are going to sin. It's just going to happen. So when I shut the rain off, when I do this, and when the locusts come and devour everything, you have a choice. You can continue to run down that road and chase other gods or whatever you decided to do. Or if my people will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, come back to me, I'll heal your land. It's kind of a big red flag. Hey, you know how we have no water and there's no food? That could be us.
Maybe, just maybe.
Y'all getting hungry?
Yeah. I'm getting hungry, and I'm thinking we might be our own problem. So God is very clear about the land that he's talking about. But what we've done in Western religion is we've taken this verse out and go, wow, that really sounds good for the healing of a nation. Sure. Not healing of physical land. So that's where we plug it in, to the healing of a nation. And boy, it is convicting.
It is.
If I would just get my act together, all these innocent people wouldn't have to suffer. But right now it's my fault. So do more, be more, self-righteousness.
Yeah.
That's what we carry is self-righteousness. So healing of a nation will never happen if the house is divided. You know that when Jesus said a house divided against itself will not stand. That is when the healing needs to happen, is when a house is divided. When a nation has joined into this whole idea of let's turn our back on God, they are not divided, they are united.
That's true.
This is true.
Yeah, they're just united under the wrong thing. Yeah. And God isn't trying to heal a nation as far as spiritual condition, saying if you'll come back to me, then I'll heal your physical situation. But Jesus said, Mark 3:24, if a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. That's when you have a problem with a nation, is division. And by the way, ours has a lot of division right now. A lot of division. There are Democrats, there are Republicans, there are patriots, then you have Antifa. There's division right down the middle. Both sides call each other the same names.
Yep.
If we're all the same thing, why aren't we united? But
good question.
It's our country is divided right now. Do you guys see that outside when you're work, anything like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know there's combinations of why, but it is just mind-blowing how easily it can happen.
Division?
Yeah, over, it could be a comment, it could be somebody saying like, oh, this is a fact, when, do some research and you find out it's not, or,
right.
I believe this, but I don't have anything to back it up. But you say you believe this. Well, it's not what I believe. And then,
right.
It is crazy how quickly it can happen and how wide a gap that division can make with people.
Yeah. And you see what happened with that, I don't remember. There were 100,000 people in the one stadium for Charlie Kirk's funeral. Then they had another stadium. They filled that stadium. Then there were people outside between the two, just filling the area between the two. I don't remember. It was over 450,000 listeners on Fox alone. Then you had CNN, ABC, stuff like that, where you had listeners on different broadcasts. A lot of people were coming together to join around that funeral, okay? And to see that people got saved during the funeral. It was an amazing thing. And then we've got this, the backlash that happens after it, where, nope, still don't like your message, and we're still going to go with division. You saw a picture of unity that day.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what you saw. And then it still swings the other way, and we fight against each other all over again.
Sure. Wow. It almost seems like it's really the tendency of a human being, and maybe I'm getting too deep into that, but it seems like we look for reasons to divide, even whenever we have more things in common, more common ground.
Right.
No, we'll take the minority run there and go for, literally something as crazy as, I like barbecue chicken and I like fried chicken.
Right.
Here we go.
Yeah.
It's almost that petty.
Right.
Whenever it comes down to it.
Yep. We'll fight over anything.
Anything. Whether like you said, it's religious beliefs, race, creed, just about everything you could imagine.
Right.
You know?
So the one thing Satan uses to cause conflict is division. That's it. He loves division.
Absolutely.
Whether it's in your family or your country, he doesn't care. If it happens in your home, then it's going to happen within your church.
Sure.
If it happens within your church, it's going to happen in your community, and then it's going to go to your nation, and then the world, and everybody's divided. So to heal your nation doesn't mean, hey, let's get all the Christians to behave themselves, and then suddenly there won't be any division. Because a lot of the division we have in our country has nothing to do with Jesus Christ at all. Just listen to them. Not either side is bringing up Jesus. So.
No, but that needs to be their focal point. That needs to be their rallying point. That needs to be the gathering point. The thing that brings them together, the cohesiveness, that glue that pulls a country, a nation, a church, a family.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, and that is the answer. By the way, Jesus is the answer. Your job is not to bring people to church. Your job is to bring people to Jesus. Let Jesus bring them to church. That's how it works. And also, just another thing is, God never told the world to go to church. He told the church to go to the world. So that kind of flips the table on our responsibility there. So, but we as Christians know that we have the answer. That's Jesus. So it almost makes sense. The argument almost makes sense to say that it is Christians' fault, isn't it? I mean, if my people would just get their act together, then couldn't the nation be healed?
If my people would just do their job.
Right, yeah. Humble yourself, seek my face, and turn from your wicked ways. I guess you could apply that to, which you can't, but we can stretch it here and try. Your wicked ways is not telling people about Jesus. I guess you could categorize it that way for the argument's sake. But it's still weak. Sure. Just trying to help all those people that are hanging on to this verse, like, no, it's my verse. You should put it down. It's not your verse. So
just put it down.
Yeah, just put the verse down. Get another plaque. There's a lot of plaques out there with a lot of verses. So this one specifically, though, kind of puts the weight on the Christians. If my people, it's not talking about if the whole country would seek my face, then I'll heal the land. No, it's my people. If my people would do what they're supposed to do, then I'll heal the land. By the way, there is some truth to that. If God's people were doing what God's people should do, maybe the whole land wouldn't be healed, but lives would be healed, and the answer is Jesus.
Oh, agreed.
If we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. The problem is we've gotten caught up in this whole political scene on both sides. Everybody seems to be political these days.
Sure.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yep, everybody seems to be a politician, just like a couple years ago everybody was somehow certified in a medical field. So
yeah.
it's just
very yes. Way to put, you played a good card there.
Yes.
2020, we were all doctors.
Yep.
2025, we're all politicians. It just seems to be it's the topic of the year. We're all politically driven. By the way, I know which side I stand politically, and it's neither Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or I'm chasing after Jesus Christ. That's what I want to see. So the party that's going that direction, that's what I want. But here's the rub. Both parties, Christians in both parties say, well, that's what my party's doing. So, we still have a problem, and you're wrong and I'm right, and we got this Christians going against Christians. We've had people leave our church because they found out there was too much of the other side in our church, politically speaking.
Really?
Yeah, too many of the other side in your church, so I'm out.
That must have been before my time.
Yeah, it was. But they left because they want to be surrounded by Democrat or Republican, that's what they wanted.
Really?
But church isn't politics. Not that you can't speak of politics in church, because you can. Separation of church and state, get that definition right, what it really means. The church can talk about politics, but the government can't tell me what I can worship. Remember what the Constitution's all about. But we still have division among Christians. We fight against each other, or it's Christians against the world. That's a problem. When I listen to the news or I read things that are put out there on social media or whatever, I'm like, how in the world can they believe that's right? That's what gets me. How can you, and I don't care what side anybody stands on, how can you see a human life taken, whether they agreed with you or not on things, and how can you celebrate a human life taken? How can anybody see that as right? How can anybody say, I'm kind of desensitized to it, it doesn't really matter to me because it was on the other side? So, good riddance to you kind of thing. I don't know how to do that as a person, celebrate the loss of another life. That doesn't make sense to me. But
it's sorry. I'll
no, go ahead. Please do.
It blows my. It's crazy how often some conversations come up at work. But we were talking about one of the people that I work with is barely young enough to even know what 9/11 was, and trying to describe to that person like where I was, what I was doing in that moment, and trying to find another thing throughout history that can come close to how people felt about that situation. And I remember, the next day, my entire neighborhood had flags posted up. Everybody
Right.
was calling each other, checking up on each other. Are
A lot of
you
love.
okay?
Yep.
Did you know anybody?
Yeah.
It was everybody was truly helping each other out.
Yep.
And that's when I remember, the amount of money donated to funerals, to
Yeah.
help rebuild, to help the firefighters, police officers. It was. You took a lot of pride in your country.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anybody that was in or around those buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anybody in New York. I didn't know anybody on the plains, nothing. Just everybody pitched in and did what they could.
Right.
And now, even recent events, the past 6 months, you're like, where did that go?
Right.
And it was crazy also because we actually, another coworker made a comment. He goes, unfortunately, it has to take something really tragic
Yeah.
to get people's attention.
It does.
And it did. It was unfortunate, really unfortunate. But, we're just in that weird place. I don't know how to describe it. It's just the country as a whole
Right.
is not whole.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's definitely divided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree with you. I remember churches swelled. It seemed like
Yes.
people come
Yes.
out of the woodwork that hadn't set foot in a church in 20 years. You don't know how many times I heard that, that's what brought them back to church. And churches were swollen for a time until the dust settled.
Right.
And then somehow, some way, people found a way to divide.
Right.
People found a way
Yep.
to...
We're back.
Yeah. We're just going to grab on to what we had before.
Right. So, that whole thing, I remember 9/11 happened, the churches were full. Every church was full, like you guys said. Why were they full? And here's one reason why I believe they were full. They didn't want God coming after them again.
Yeah.
Because if you'll behave yourself, I'll heal your land.
Second Chronicles.
Yeah, if you don't behave yourself, bad things are coming. And it's just a sad misinterpretation of Scripture is what it is. Even with Charlie Kirk, what happened with him. By the way, I used to watch his videos before he was assassinated, and I watched them afterwards. The guy was he was wise, 31 years old, wise beyond his years. And his passion was for Jesus Christ. If you watched his funeral, you could see his passion was for Jesus Christ. But churches were filled that weekend too. The churches were more populated than they were other weeks. And then the farther we get away from the tragedy, we have more open seats in the church.
Sure.
Everything, God, I haven't talked to you since the last crisis, but hey, we're here at another one. It's time to talk. That still ends up with a broken situation, is
Sure.
what it does. So can we put the weight on Christians? That's the topic. Is it Christians? Is it the Christians' fault that things happened? The answer is no. We're in a fallen world, but people sin. That's going to happen whether you're living your life for God or not. Sure. Sin's going to happen around you, and you might be the victim of that. Charlie Kirk wasn't doing anything violent. He was just talking, and he ended up catching the bullet. He wasn't doing anything wrong. If anybody was going to, if this scripture was right, if that was the context, then at least Charlie's part of the land should have been filled or healed. Because, you know, he wasn't doing anything wrong. But we carry this, the weight of the community. If all the Christians aren't doing good.
Yeah.
So now we can hate each other because, you know, I was doing good, you weren't doing good, so our land is suffering because of you. It's just a blame game.
Ashton, it's all your fault.
I know.
Your fault.
Yes.
It always is.
Threw confetti all over me.
I
Yes.
got a little more if you want some more.
No, I don't want any more confetti. Applications at questions@burntownreligion.com. Fill them out. So on a serious note, though, we have an issue with, can the Christians bear any weight for the situation? And the truth is, yes, we can. And this is broken in a lot of churches. The problem isn't people, and a lot of times people seem to be the problem. This country hates, so many people, I can't even say this country because the vote went the other way, but a lot of people hate Donald Trump. That's one man, and I'm not trying to sway anybody either way, but they hate one person, which is Donald Trump. He has a name, they know what he looks like. He has real estate in their head. He owns real estate in a lot of people's minds because they eat, drink, sleep this guy. You know, they are always hating Donald Trump, okay? So you look at this and they're mad at him. They're mad at his political party. So much anger. And it's even within the churches that people are mad at him. Here's what we need to get to as Christians. Here's what we have to understand as Christians. The problem isn't people, and God makes that very clear. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." People are not the enemy. And when we have division, it's because we stand against each other, and we make people the target.
Sure.
I hate Donald Trump, or I hate Joe Biden, or whatever side you're on. You end up, when you think about what fans that flame of hatred inside of you, you have a person's face attached to that. That's wrong.
Yep.
That's a problem, because flesh and blood isn't our problem. Sin is the problem.
Sure.
Sin is the problem. When you see yourself you see each other as the enemy, you're fighting the wrong battle, and all you're doing is bringing division. So yeah,
Sure.
Christians have to carry a little bit of this.
Yeah, and it's something that's very easy to do. Sometimes you don't realize you're doing it.
That's true.
And I use myself as an example. There was a time, of course, even I know I touched on my divorce a couple episodes now,
Right?
and just letting something go. I couldn't do it for probably a year or so. Like there resentment, a lot of pettiness, a lot of not just the heartache, but anything I could do. It sounds childish when you say it out loud, but anything you can do to get back at that person, and,
Right.
and just. And then you other things on top of that, like trust issues with people and anything like that, and it festers and
Right.
it grows and it consumes you,
Yeah.
and then you can't have a conversation because you now have a wall built up. Like there's no way you're going to get through that wall again,
Right.
and it takes a lot of time, a lot of discipline to just tear down that wall and be like, hey,
Yeah.
let's be adults. Let's try to figure something out.
Right.
Let's get past this, because there's so much more to life than this ongoing
Right.
battle of Highlander. Like you can't.
Right.
In the end, they're going to only be one.
Yeah, there's only one.
Right.
So
Yeah, the one thing, and this isn't an episode honoring Charlie Kirk or anything, but fine, if we honor him, so be it. I'm not ashamed of that at all. He was a good man. But one thing he said is when communication stops, that's where violence begins. Is when we stop talking about things, that's when the problems happen. You've got to keep the lines of communication open. Talk to the person that you disagree with. People are not the problem. Sin is the problem. At the same time, we can't condone sin when people are involved in it. We can't just say what you like is fine, your truth is your truth, my truth is my truth. No, the truth is truth. Whether you agree with it or not, the truth is truth. But to have an open discussion about it is a really good thing. If we don't have the discussion about it, which I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but I have a lot, as a pastor, people end up just not coming to your church anymore. They're like, I wonder what's happened to so-and-so. You try to call, you can't get an answer. Like, okay, it must be a different number or something. Months go by and you realize, oh, they had a problem with you. But what they did was they ghosted you. I didn't even know ghosting was a thing when I was a child. That wasn't even a verb. You can't ghost somebody. That's not a verb.
Trying to scare somebody.
Right.
Gonna jump out of the bushes.
Yeah. Boogity boogity boo. Yeah. So now it's a thing. You can ghost somebody, which means you just disappear.
Yeah.
You just disappear. No conversation. You just leave. Where conversation stops, that's where violence begins. You end up building hatred or disdain for somebody. You end up carrying those feelings that you didn't talk about, and that ends up building, it ends up growing, and then before long you have a wide gap of division. It just keeps getting wider and wider because nobody's talking. The person isn't your problem. Sin is the problem. That doesn't mean people are not guilty. If I commit a crime, I can't say, well, the crime was the problem, not me. No, I'm guilty of committing the crime, which is the problem. So I still have to carry the weight of my decisions. It doesn't make people innocent. Just, I sinned, but remember, I'm a person, so I'm not the problem, and sin was the problem. No, but you're still guilty. You're still guilty in the situation, which means we need to talk. We need to talk, not, I'm just ending you because you're my enemy.
Exactly.
But we make people our enemy. Now that'll do more for healing a country than 2 Chronicles 7:14. If we realize, hey, you know what? I got to stop looking at people as the target. People have never been God's target. Sin has always been God's target. It's never been people. God loves people. He came to save people that were stuck and involved in his target.
Well, I mean, if you're going to pick a target, I mean, in the sense that if you're trying to show somebody the love of Jesus Christ, let them know what God, if that's the aim of your target, shower that all over people.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Use that as, like I said, as something cohesive, as a glue to bring people together and not force each other apart.
Right. It's amazing to me how tough people are behind the screen. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
The power that comes when, if you're on Facebook, like, I can say anything, I'm invincible. But when you're face to face, like, please don't hit me.
Keyboard hero.
Right, you're a keyboard hero. Yeah, boy, I'm going to save the world through my words. And then when somebody confronts you about your words, everybody just ghosts each other and keeps the division going. Complaining isn't how you communicate. Talking, have a conversation, even if your opinions differ, talk. Just realize that people are not the problem. Sin is the problem, and sometimes people are involved in that. But you still got to love, and we've heard it our whole lives, love the sinner, hate the sin, right?
Yeah.
There's so much truth to that. You've got to love the sinner, and you got to hate the sin. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's
heard that quite a few times.
Yeah. Why? Okay, the bathwater is dirty. Throw the whole thing out. Wait, there's a baby in there. Who cares? We'll start over. You can't do that.
Get a new one.
Yeah, right. So, but that a lot of people do that today. Is they throw the person out with the issue instead of talking about the issue. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against the principalities of darkness and all of that. That's our problem. Sin is the issue. Just people are involved in sin. Am I boring you over there, Russell?
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
Coffee.
Hold on, I'll wake you up. So, yeah.
That excited me.
Yeah, there you go. Confetti on Ashton will gross you up. So, this whole idea of healing our land, it does come down to understand that Jesus is the answer. Sin is the problem. The problem with every nation out there in this world is they have a disease, they have a parasite called sin. That's it. The cure is Jesus Christ. He came to take away the sins of the world. So if you want to take away the problem, which is sin, you have to go to the source, which takes away the problem, and that's Jesus. That's the answer. Christians don't carry the burden of why our country goes through bad things. The lost world don't carry the burden of why bad things happen to people. Sin is why they happen to people. Everybody run to a relationship with Jesus Christ because that's the answer. That's how you heal a land, not 2 Chronicles 7:14. I can hold a sign up and it just doesn't make it any better.
There's going to be lots of people start pulling their magnets off of the refrigerators.
The ones with that verse?
Yeah, the ones with that verse.
It's like, I need a new magnet. No, well, there's some good ones out there. Get a different verse. When people fight against people, what we're doing is we're fighting against the same people that Jesus loves and died for. Mm-hmm. We're going after the same people that Jesus was going after. We're just going after them in anger, and he was going after them in love. We're messing it up. So if we can all learn something of how to heal a nation, let's do it. But realize it's not 2 Chronicles 7:14. That's not the answer. The answer is to believe and love. 1 John 3:23. Believe and love. That's the answer. Point people to Jesus Christ, and that'll heal a land.
Absolutely.
At least a good portion of it. The second year, here we are.
Yep.
Our 53rd, there you go, more confetti. You need some over, somebody threw a bunch on me. You want some more? Actually, I'm not giving it to you. You'll throw back on me.
I'm only in my first year, guys.
Yes, you are. And it's good to have you, Rusty. If you have, and we're going to say this again because it's a new thing, if you have any questions or comments, any ideas for episodes, something like I struggle with a verse and I'd like to go deeper in understanding of what that verse is, communicate with us. Write to questions@burntonreligion.com. It's on our website. Go check out our website. All the episodes are there. If there is a problem with listening to any episodes, a lot of them go through YouTube and stuff, but every once in a while they'll go through a Podbean episode. It'll go through the Podbean platform because YouTube didn't take it for some reason, and I don't understand all of that. So if you have a problem listening to a certain episode, if you'll download the Podbean app, you'll be able to open that episode too. So, keep following, sharing. Just to let everybody know, Missouri is still on top, but Alabama is third. Remember, Alabama was first. Missouri is first still, but Pennsylvania is like, they got their hands around our ankles. Pennsylvania is rising quickly.
Nice.
So
That's your Star of Pennsylvania right there, isn't it?
what's that?
So you see the star for Pennsylvania?
Who?
You
Ashton?
can't get rid of me now.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're stuck with Ashton. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Pennsylvania.
Well, thank you, Pennsylvania. Well, we do appreciate everything you do to help us get the word out. Scripture in context. Scripture, it will change people's life in context, but also it will change people's life when it's out of context. Let's make sure we're doing it right. Keep the Scripture in context. And we appreciate you listening. Please let people know what we're doing here, and let's do this together as a Christian community. Help us get the word out. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next week.
All right.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.